Well, everybody's still celebrating. I'm sure of it. But there's still the ALCS. There's still more games to come. We're going to tee it up. We're going to talk lineups. And of course, probably the man we're going to have the most discussions about, Bichette.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Lot to get into. We got to talk lineups. We're going to get right into that and just some moves that have to be made. Bichette, what is going to happen with him? Is how close is he coming back and teeing up the ALCS? Follow us on Twitter, Brayden Fabuasco, Carter First Two as well, our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. Hit the subscribe button here on YouTube if you haven't already. Leave us your comments, thoughts, feelings down below. And go follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Carter, let's kick things off. Talk about the lineups. Let's get right into it. No time to waste going into this weekend. There are going to be moves made. This is what happens every time. Guys come off injury, and now it's not a 5-game series. It's a 7-game series. It's best of 7. So you're going to have to make coordinated moves. You can't go with a bullpen day in a series like this. So does that mean Chris Bassitt? Does that mean Jose Berrios? Who gets moved out of the pen? Who gets the chop? We'll talk about it all. Carter, my man, do you want to start pitching? I think that's where we got to start, right?
Yeah, I think the pitching is where a lot of the decisions will have to be made because the offense, to be completely honest, we kind of know what the expectation is, and we know what needs to happen for this offense to be successful. You're going to need Vlad to have, maybe not exactly what he did against the Yankees. If he wants to do that, that's going to be more than fine with everybody, but he's going to have to be productive. But you're going to need big swings from the middle of the order, which you did get from guys like Daulton, Varsho, Addison Barger, Ernie, Clement. And then you're going to need the guys at the bottom of the order to have those gritty at-bats, foul off pitches, and play that small ball caliber of game that they're definitely capable of doing. So offensively, it's pretty much set in stone. Like, you know what needs to happen. Whereas for the pitching, it's like whether you roll out certain bullpen arms a certain way, whether it's like certain starters on specific days, like there's a bunch of different ways that you could do this to set the Jays up for the most amount of success. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can set this up that I could see it foreseeably working out for the Toronto Blue Jays. But I kind of went through the games here and I kind of laid this out again. It's tough to predict what's going to happen in game 5, game 6, game 7 of a 7-game series because how is the pitching going to roll out? Who wins each game? Like, there's a ton that is obviously undecided and needs to fold out in front of your eyes to make those decisions. But I think we got to start on the pitching and specifically the starting pitching. And I think for at least the first couple of games, the starters and who's going to throw the first pitch of the game is pretty easily decided, but how they manage that after is going to be pretty interesting. So for the first game, it will be this is confirmed that it will be Sunday at 8:08 Eastern time. It will be Kevin Gausman. That hasn't been confirmed, but I'm going to confirm it right now. It's Kevin Gausman. I will be absolutely blown away if it's not Kevin Gausman. I think this is the easiest shoe-in of all time. Mortgage bet everything you have on the FanDuel account for this one. Yeah, it's Kevin Gausman. I think this one, ideally, I want him to be at 75 pitches in this game. Kind of have him a little bit on a pitch limit. Again, if he is absolutely dominating, like if he's having a Trey Savage type of start and he is like having no worries whatsoever, keep him in the game, obviously. Like if he's rolling through hitters, you're not going to disrupt a good thing. But ideally for me, what I want to happen here is with Kevin Gausman, you roll him out in that first game. You have the bullpen arms. They're going to recover a lot easier with the off days in between after the second game, after the 5th game. And then just you have a plethora of bullpen arms. You have the ability to go to a bunch of different guys. So ideally, if it works out, you don't throw Kevin Gausman for 100, 110 pitches. You use the bullpen a little bit quicker, and then you have Gausman available for in the event of the Thursday game being a little bit more meaningful in a game 4 and a game 5. So ideally for me, if you can, you have Kevin Gausman a little bit of a pitch limit if it's foreseeable within the game.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea. I don't think it's something necessarily that I'm overly concerned about. I think that if you have to go to Kevin Gausman, game 5, I would assume that's what's in the cards. Obviously, there's
the reason I say this is because I want him to be available for a game 4, and then if it happens, I want him for a game 7. In the event there's a game 7, if you throw him in that game 5, he's not going to be available for game 7. Again, depends on the way the series unfolds.
Yeah.
But there's a scenario here. If you play it right with the pitch limits and if you don't overthrow them, you can get 3 different Kevin Gausman starts in a 7-game series. Ideally, it doesn't go to 7 games.
Yeah.
And that's why I said you got to see kind of how the series goes. And that's why it's tough to predict right now. But that's kind of my thought process here.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I get what you're coming from. So you're saying in the event that it's teeing itself up for a 7, that's sort of what you're thinking, or an elimination.
You need to throw
game.
Kevin Gausman on short rest. And if you throw Kevin Gausman 110 pitches and you're expecting him to give you like productive innings on short rest, I just think you're asking a ton out of Kevin Gausman against a very good lineup in the Seattle Mariners. If it's the Detroit Tigers, again, if they got there, they're probably hitting, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I can't see a realistic situation that they go that way. I don't hate the idea. I just don't think that that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to roll with their guys. And, game 2, we know what it's going to be. It's going to be a Trey Savage game. Game 3 will be Shane Bieber. They like him better on the road, so they'll pitch him in game 3. And then, but the part of the big question, and probably on everybody's mind, is what happens game 4, because it can't be a bullpen game. And you said it could be a Kevin Gausman. I don't necessarily see that, but I get where you're coming from. I think this is Chris Bassitt, shoe in, easy. I could almost tell you exactly that it's going to be Chris Bassitt. Just from everything we've heard, they've talked about his injury, when he would be coming back. They're sort of already teeing it up. Now, again, nothing's confirmed about that. It's still a long ways away. We still have 3 more games to get to. But I would almost shoe in Chris Bassitt for game 4. And to be honest, that's what I'm most comfortable with. I don't like Max Scherzer in a situation here. I don't like Jose Berrios. Chris Bassitt to me is the go-to. He's been on that. He's almost on the verge, right? I think we've seen Max Scherzer and Jose Berrios sort of just lose their role here. They weren't pitching very good. And Chris Bassitt, not that he's been fantastic, but I don't think he's been nearly as bad as the other 2. And I think Chris Bassitt can serve you up at least a decent outing. And you don't have to pitch him 7 innings. You can pitch him 4 and roll that into a little bit more of a bullpen game. So I'm way more comfortable with that personally.
Yeah, I see that happening as well. Like Chris Bassitt's going to be on my ALCS roster if he is available. And even if I said Kevin Gausman, there's a possibility he could pitch game 4, which it could do here as well, as we saw it in the ALDS. Like I did not expect Kevin Gausman to get up for the bullpen in game 4. So clearly that this team is going to be ready to go to any of their pitchers if they're ready to go, no matter if it's out of the bullpen at the start of the game. Kevin Gausman might come into the 9th inning if they need him there, and they think that he's going to provide this team with the best opportunity to succeed. So I think that's why I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it is Kevin Gausman. But what you can do is have Chris Bassitt be thrown in there, make it a very short leash. And whether it is Kevin Gausman, whether you want to go to a bullpen arm, that is a possibility. So that's where I'm at with Chris Bassitt. Is this guy has been injured, hasn't pitched in a little bit. Do we trust Chris Bassitt more than a Louis Varland, more than a Yariel Rodriguez, more than a Mason Fluharty? And if you would have told me this without Chris Bassitt missing any time, I'd probably trust Chris Bassitt. But with him being away from baseball, even for any amount of time now, again, high leverage situations, I'm not worried about the moment necessarily getting to Chris Bassitt, but you're really throwing him into the fire. He has to figure it out immediately. There's no time where it's a little bit of trial and error. You got a little bit of runway here. No, you go into the game, you're in an ALCS, and every single pitch is going to matter. So that's why I think if you're going to go Chris Bassitt, which I still think they do in a game 4, if it is, the down 1-2, it's 2-1, as long as they're not down 3-0. If you get to game 4, you're down 3-0, it's Kevin Gausman time. You're not playing around. It's all hands on deck. This team is going to go Kevin Gausman. So that's why, again, tough to predict. But the way it should go is it should be Kevin Gausman, Trey Savage, then Shane Bieber, then Chris Bassitt. After that, all hands will be on deck, depending on where you're at in the scenario. Could be Kevin Gausman at any time. Could be Trey Savage. Hopefully you're up 2-1 at a game 4 spot. We can kind of go into predictions in the third segment here. But yeah, I think that's probably how you have it. You have those 4 starters. So I guess we can kind of get into this as well. Transfer it into the bullpen a little bit.
Yeah.
Is it for you just those 4 starters? Because on the playoff roster, you're allowed 26 players. 13 of them at max can be pitchers, whether they're starters, whether they're bullpen arms. You can really configure that whichever way you want. Are you going with a 5th starting pitcher for this? Are you throwing in Max Scherzer? Are you throwing in Jose Berrios if he is ready to go? Are you taking a spot away from the bullpen? What is your kind of way forward for John Schneider and the way he handles his pitching staff?
Yeah. So for me personally, what happens obviously is Chris Bassitt's a shoe-in, obviously, and he takes Justin Brule out of the lineup. He's done. That's it. The next question is what happens with Jose Berrios. Now, I could very much see a scenario that he is coming out of the bullpen here in a long man role. Sort of what you could do is sort of piggyback him and Chris Bassitt. Do I necessarily love that? I don't know how much faith I have in Jose Berrios right now, but I think what could end up happening is a Tommy Nance move, and then Jose Berrios goes to the pen. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm very undecided. I'm very on the fence about Jose Berrios because I don't necessarily want it, but is Jose Berrios giving you a better chance than Tommy Nance in a playoff game? Debatably, yeah, because we've seen that Jose Berrios, no matter what kind of seasons he's having, when he gets into the playoffs, he's usually pretty decent. So, I'm not 100% sure, but that's the scenario if he does end up being on this roster.
See, and this is where it gets pretty interesting because a lot of people thought Eric Lauer would be a big part of that bullpen game, but we didn't really see him in an extended innings role. We saw him as a traditional bullpen arm. Really hasn't pitched as like that long man out of the bullpen like a lot of people were thinking. He's kind of transitioned into this typical bullpen arm where you get pretty much 1 inning. Maybe Icky goes 2 innings if it kind of like the situation persists for that. But just looking at like the recent outings for Eric Lauer in the Yankee series, he pitched October 8th. So that was 17 pitches. Again, for me, like my general line of like how much it takes or how many pitches it takes for a relief pitcher in 1 inning is about 15 to 20. If you can kind of be in there, that's about 1 inning. Ideally, it's 10 if it goes well, but I use 15 as a general guideline. So yeah, 16 pitches on October 8th. 17 pitches on October 8th, 16 pitches on October 5th. He had 10 on September 28th. He did throw 44 on the 25th, but hasn't thrown over 30 pitches since September 3rd. So we've really seen this, role go from the long man into like more of that third option, maybe second option, wherever you want to say, but that traditional relief arm from the left-handed side. So I don't think that this guy or Eric Lauer will be rolled out as that long man. So maybe it is Jose Berrios. If you're going to need some innings, instead of a guy like maybe Tommy Nance, you go with Jose Berrios, but we're trying to kind of convince ourselves of Chris Bassitt. You're kind of taking another step farther if you're trying to convince people about Jose Berrios with the way things ended in this season. So with the way John Schneider likes to manage his bullpen, I think that it's going to be more advantageous to have more bullpen arms, to have that 9th bullpen arm compared to another long man out of the bullpen. Because right now I'm trusting Tommy Nance more than I'm trusting Jose Berrios. And we see how quickly John Schneider likes to rotate these bullpen arms. It's really it was matchup based in the regular season. That is, matchup based on steroids in the playoffs. Like we're seeing like 3 hitters, like you're gone if you're a lefty, depending on the lineup, obviously. So I think it's going to be beneficial to the Blue Jays if they have an additional right-hander that is, more of that bullpen arm, can, get that strikeout, can get that big out, rather than Jose Berrios, who is a starting pitcher, isn't used to coming out of the bullpen, which in this scenario where the Toronto Blue, like the way it's going to work out, at least the way I see it, is they're going to need a bullpen arm way more than they're going to need that long man. So I trust, Tommy Nance to be that bullpen guy rather than throwing Jose Berrios in a situation where he's not comfortable with.
Yeah, and I hate to be like this because I hate being a fence sitter on some of my opinions. I really don't like it, but in this one, I really don't know what the best move is, and I'm sort of putting my faith into the fact that John Schneider knows what's best. The way he handled his bullpen in Game 4 makes me really trust some decision making here. So, I think whatever he pulls out and whatever he wants to do and what is going to be beneficial for this team down the long stretch here, I'm okay with. But I think if you make the decision to not go Jose Berrios here, you're pretty much telling him he's done for the playoffs because you're not bringing him back for a World Series no matter what happens. So if he's out now, he's out. So you gotta strap up and make the right call here. And that it's just gonna have to be a wait and see type of thing until the weekend here.
I got one more thing quick. Just Max Scherzer. Like, is this guy really in the realm for you?
No.
Yeah, not really for me whatsoever at this point either. I think, not having Boston, John Schneider said maybe you roll up Max Scherzer against, a lot of righties in that lineup. The lefties don't scare you as much as they do in the Yankees. Maybe you roll up Max Scherzer in that situation. But yeah, if you're going to go anyone at this point, I'm more comfortable with Jose Berrios. I'm not very comfortable with Jose Berrios. This series really is going to be built in that 3-game stretch. It's not going to be the Sunday or Monday. I'm pretty confident in Kevin Gausman and Trey Savage. It's going to be Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5. What can Shane Bieber give you? What can Chris Bassitt give you? What can a bullpen day or however they figure that out? It's going to be those games in the middle there. You got to win hopefully 2 out of 3. And if you win 2 out of 3 there, that's probably enough to get you a World Series berth.
So, Carter, we're going to take a break. I want to come back with something that I just want to throw to you that I haven't yet. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but it's in regards to the Yankees and sort of who they're going to play next. We're going to talk, obviously, a lot about Bichette coming up before we really dive in, tee up the ALCS for you guys. We'll be right back. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know how much I love FanDuel, and everybody, it seems like, that I talk to loves FanDuel because it is the best place to place your bets. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. My brother's not a big NFL guy. He bets on a lot of baseball, a lot of hockey, and he's been hammering it. He actually got his friend to get on FanDuel and place the $5 bet because he got the $300 in bonus bets just actually from betting on the Canucks to win last night. So there you go, another person taking advantage of some bonus bets. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Yeah, before you get into it, I want to leave this in. I'm pretty sure you said before the break, I need the people in the comment section to make sure I got this right. I'm pretty sure you said we're going to go on and see who the Yankees are going to play. I'm 99% sure you said that. We're going to leave it in. Let me know if I heard that right or if I'm going absolutely crazy or not. But yeah, you might still be thinking about those Yankees for some reason.
No. I wanted to touch on something from the Yankee series before we tee up the ALCS.
Oh, okay. I thought okay. Well, hopefully it's negative. That's what I'm looking for. Because I have been loving seeing some Yankees reactions. We've seen a lot of I've finally seen the Yankees fans give the Blue Jays their respect. I think they were waiting until the series was over. Still seeing a lot of them making excuses. The cheating scandal. There's still a couple people that are trying to hang on to that. Still pretty funny. But yeah, I'll let you kind of get into it.
Yeah, so sort of this moves me to another point of the 3-game stretch in the away team's barn, right, at the away team's field, and this sort of takes me back to the Yankee series. You've seen the worst it can be. The Yankees fans are going to give you the most grief. They're going to be probably one of the loudest. They're going to be in your ear. They'll give you the boos. From now on, you've seen the top of the mountain of how bad it can be at an away team's ballpark. So everything else, all the moments, think back to that because it wasn't as bad as Yankees, and this team is able to do it at Yankee Stadium. So that's something these players should be having in their back of their minds too. The atmosphere isn't going to be quite the same. No matter who it is, it's not going to ever be Yankees and Blue Jays again this season. So it's never going to be quite like that. So I think that's a big positive for this team, already going through what should have been the worst away ballpark moments, at least.
Yeah, in terms of how hostile the environment is, probably not going to get worse than the Yankees, but I think that kind of gets traded off for maybe the more pressure you feel because you're farther along in the playoffs. Are you feeling more pressure in an ALCS series or an ALDS series? Yeah, maybe it's a little bit elevated for especially some specific players. Like I think Vladdy, if you asked him, this one probably was a little bit, more meaningful for him against the New York Yankees, but I think no matter what, you're going to be playing in hostile environments. They're going to be loud, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Seattle, whether it's the Dodgers, because of that crazy ending in that Phillies game. We're definitely going to have to touch on that because that was insane. But I think at this point, it's not going to get crazier than the ALDS in terms of the animosity you're feeling from other players' fan bases. But in terms of just feeling the pressure and feeling the moment, you're going to have to get ready for it. But that was a big test, obviously, against your divisional rivals. So I think that if you were worried about the players, maybe the moment getting too big, Trey Savage specifically, if the moment was going to get too big, probably would have happened in his first playoff start against the New York Yankees and how prolific that lineup is. So I'm not too worried about the nerves or really anyone on this team. I think it's only going to play to their advantage. Louis Varland throws 99 to 100 on a good day. I think with maybe a little bit of the nerves, maybe a little bit of that adrenaline, maybe we see a 102, maybe we see a 103, and he can absolutely light up the lamp. So I think it's only going to be advantageous to the Toronto Blue Jays, especially for their home games.
Yeah. No, for sure. We'll talk more about that sort of coming up after seeing, the first couple home games. But Carter, it's time to talk Bo Bichette, just how he fits in this lineup. What happens? Will we see him? And I want to start it here. And it's just a quote that came out on, sort of how Bo was feeling. Because, again, we saw a few videos of some of you on Twitter probably saw it of him jogging, running, doing a little bit of crossovers. But this is the update. I've made a lot of progress recently, so I'm optimistic about my chances. I still have some hurdles to clear, but I'm optimistic. I got to run a little bit faster, but I'm feeling better every day. So nothing clear. It's sort of the same narrative that we were hearing going into the playoffs about trying to be ready for the ALDS. Obviously, didn't happen. But in this scenario, I think it is prime spot for Bichette to be back. There was a question that was brought up. I believe it was on TSN, and they were saying how they don't think it's a good thing because it might mess with the mojo. You're bringing Bichette back. Doesn't mess with the mojo.
I never understand like the takes like that. Like, how is bringing one of the best players in your organization back to your team going to be a negative thing? It never makes any sense to me.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It made me frustrated because they are not going to bring Bichette back unless he's 80%. And if you can get an 80% Bichette who can still swing the bat.
I wouldn't even say it's that. I just think, is he going to be better than what you got on the field already? If he's going to give you anything more, he's going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, it's like the Anthony Santander argument. If Anthony Santander is going to give you more and give you an advantage, then you bring him back. If you think there's a chance that Anthony Santander can give you an advantage, you bring him back.
If you this could take your MLB The Show lineup and your team overall from an 84.2 to an 84.3, you're going to do it. At this point, it's all hands on deck for the playoffs, whether it's Jonathan Kloss saying you need his speed in the outfield or if it's Bichette and you need the bat in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, and it's a decision that has to be made, and obviously it's a lot on Bichette and how he's feeling. But to me, I don't really care. I think he's back, and I think you take him. If he says yes, and the doctors say yes, then you get him on the field and get him buzzing. And I think this week these next few days, these next couple days are going to be massive to see how Bichette really gets back into the groove of things, Carter.
Yeah, this episode comes on Friday, but it's going to feel like a month before the ALCS starts. So yeah, a week might feel like an understatement for a lot of people. But with Bichette, yeah, I think it's obvious we're both at the point where if he can come in the lineup, yeah, like how you're going to have Bichette in the lineup. Whether that is that shortstop, whether that is that DH, maybe there's some finagling you're going to have to do within the lineup. Ideally, he's at shortstop because if he has that DH, then you have a shoe-in. Anthony Santander probably playing right field. He's in the lineup. We saw how that goes. I know we said we got to sacrifice defense, but you see it in a lot of games. You saw it in the Phillies game. You saw it in the Yankees game, that Jazz Chisholm era. You saw it in Game 3. That defense specifically is elevated immensely in the playoffs. Having that one error is really all I can take. The little moments in a game that can completely flip it upside down. So you're going to need Bichette to be, again, effective defensively, not the greatest defender in general. So if it's like a mobility thing, he can't run as fast. That's something you're going to have to consider as well. Like, is it worth the risk of throwing his bat in the lineup for that upside, but then having him in defensively and possibly missing a ball that Andres Gimenez would have had? So again, a lot of speculation. I feel a lot better about like this situation right now compared to how I did like for him playing in the ALDS. I was not helpful at all. And I pretty much communicated that on the podcast. You were pretty much in the same boat. We did not think he would be ready. Now he's been running. He's been doing some light jogging like we saw in the celebration. Some people are drawing to that. You saw him jog out there. People didn't love that because it seems a little bit ginger, but he's probably not trying to hurt himself in a celebration. Again, you can go wild with the conspiracy theories. You can go wild with the speculation. I think where everybody's at is you want Bichette in the lineup if it's possible, but again, bigger things at mind, bigger goals in mind. If it's, the difference between rushing him back for an ALCS and then him getting hurt or like, God forbid, something bigger happening where next year, and I know he's not signed, but next year, there's an injury for him specifically, you're in a contract year, you probably don't want to rush it back. Then if you're in a World Series and there's a possibility Bichette can be healthy for a World Series, maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself, but you want to be precautionary with one of the best players in your organization.
Well, and Carter, this was a conversation that me and you sort of had before the podcast, just talking about the Bichette contract. And I just want to get your feelings. We're not going to dive in. There's baseball to play. It's not the biggest conversation that needs to be had right now. I'm at the point where I fully 110% believe that Bichette is going to be a Toronto Blue Jay next season. He wanted to see that this team was going to give him a chance to win. And I don't know. Ask anybody right now how good you feel about the Blue Jays' chances of winning. So I'm fully on board, and I think the Vladdy wanting him to stay, wanting him to be a part of it, I think it's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, like winning solves a lot of problems. So we talked a lot in the offseason. Again, this is going to be an even bigger conversation once we get to this offseason. If Bo Bichette has a World Series ring to have, to show for 2025, that's going to be one, giant reason why he might want to stay in Toronto. So the farther that the Toronto Blue Jays can get into this playoffs, that's only going to be beneficial for the Toronto Blue Jays' chances to extend Bo Bichette. And if we're talking, for example, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I wanted to talk about this. I think it's a good time to bring it up now. Is that I watched it back, obviously, the last pitch, the last, couple innings, just to, get the full feeling again for that New York Yankees game. I didn't notice this initially, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. tearing up a little bit at Yankee Stadium. Obviously, this means a lot to him, just beating the Yankees. We know how much Vladdy does not like the Yankees. Winning playoff games, how it hasn't gone that well for Vladdy in history, but also just for him and his future. He signed a 14-year contract with an organization. And he's got a lot of his friends right now that are on contract years and on expiring contracts, specifically Bo Bichette. Vladdy knows how important Bo Bichette is to this team. So I think with him specifically, he knows that if you can win, if you can continue to show Bo Bichette, this is a winning culture, this is a winning organization, especially with guys like Trey Savage, the prospect pool, again, maybe not being the best, but being bolstered. There's more positive news definitely now than there was a year ago. So winning and getting farther in the playoffs is only going to be beneficial, not only for Bo Bichette, but for every other free agent that we're talking about signing. The biggest issue in 2024 was this team sucked. And in the offseason, you couldn't really advocate that this was going to be a winning team because of how 2024 went. You go far in the playoffs in 2025. You make to the ALCS. Hopefully you win the ALCS. You're in a World Series. That's clearly going to show that this team is capable of winning. The goal is for pretty much every player in the league is to win a World Series. If you do that, that is going to be like a neon sign, like with flickering. Like it's going to be a giant arrow pointing every single free agent to the Toronto Blue Jays this offseason.
Carter, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit just about what the Bo Bichette move into the lineup makes, but then also it's prediction time. We got it. We got to put our stamp on it. What we think, in our genius brains, I think is going to happen in this series. We're wrong more often than we're right, but we're going to give it to you guys anyway, right after this short break. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Go Long. That's exactly where Rougiette Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's total game changer for your confidence. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. And if you're prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. If prescribed, your treatment will be right there ready for you guys to have. No worries. It really is just an easy process. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. So, Carter, continuing on, we talked a little bit about Bo Bichette being back in the lineup, the possibility of maybe Ty France, but Bo Bichette means, I think me and you have come to a conclusion that it's going to be IKF. There's no real need to have him if you do get Bo Bichette back. But the big question surrounds Ty France. If he makes his return to the lineup, oh goodness, then what do you do?
Yeah, usually I have an answer for pretty much everything. This is one where I have no idea what the Toronto Blue Jays are going to do because, the only viable option here is that maybe you take it on from the bullpen, but I don't think you want to do that with the way John Schneider deploys his bullpen. There's a lot of times where he's going to throw his lefty in for, the max 3 batters and then take him out immediately as soon as you get righties in the lineup. So the more bullpen arms you're going to have, I think the better. And when you look at Ty France compared to some guys that you'd be taking him out for, you look at the bench players. There's a lot of guys, obviously, if you've been watching the Toronto Blue Jays, the staples. Vladdy's going to be in the lineup. Springer's going to be in the lineup. There's no point of going over those guys anymore. But you look at the bench, you're going to need Tyler Heineman. Whether you like it or not, you need a backup catcher in the event that Alejandro Kirk gets hurt. Maybe you need a pinch runner at some point. You need a defensive substitution. You need a backup catcher.
You got to lay down a bunt.
Yeah, exactly, right? But hey, maybe that's something for IKF. IKF used to play catcher. Maybe if he's going to get cut from this roster, maybe that's his last saving grace. Hey, I used to catch back in 2022. I can do it a little bit better than Tyler Heineman. I don't think they'd go there, but hey, maybe that's his last saving grace. But I think Tyler Heineman shoe in for this roster. For me, it depends on, again, if it's a right-handed pitcher, or left-handed pitcher, but whether it's David Schneider, Nathan Lucas, I think Ernie Clement's a shoe in. So it's really those two rotating. You can't have either of those two off this roster. Miles Straw with the defensive prowess. the base running. Like, you need Miles Straw on this roster. And then that IKF was the last bench spot. If Bichette's back, you're going to take IKF off this roster. You go through it like Anthony Santander, maybe. Do you like Ty France better than Santander? That's up to the people, I guess, in the comment section. I personally don't. I'd rather have Anthony Santander. I think if you're going to put pinch hit Ty France, you probably want a big hit. You probably want a power swing. Santander probably going to provide a little bit more upside there. Like, I just don't know how Ty France fits into this lineup. So I guess where it is for me is, my answer is that Ty France won't be on this playoff roster. As much as he might be deserving, and I think he can be productive, I just don't see how this works out.
Yeah, and again, not a guy that was with this team all season long, right? You get him at the trade deadline, and a guy that just, as much as you would like to have him in there, does he move the needle? Is he better than the next guy? Does he serve a purpose more than this next guy? And I just don't know. And I like Ty France, honestly. Like, we weren't big fans of him at the trade deadline when that trade was made, but realistically, he's been very solid. It's just not a needle mover. But in saying that, Carter, let's get into it. It's time.
I got one more thing, and you're not going to like it, but the only way that I see it,
I don't want to hear it. Don't even say it. Don't even say it.
It's going to be for Davis, because it's the only thing that makes sense. Because if Ty France, if he's going to be in your lineup, you probably want him to hit lefties, and you're not going to sacrifice the defense of Ernie Clement. Like, you're not going to take any of these guys off the roster, obviously.
Yeah.
David Schneider, out of all the guys defensively, probably the worst. Not saying he's horrible, but he's probably the worst option. Again, Ty France is going to be the defensive substitution at first base. So, like how is that going to work as well?
Yeah.
So I think the easy decision is you keep Davis in, and you don't, like, if you're going to worry about mojo, like some people are with Bichette, why are you going to throw Ty France in this situation? I just like Davis better, I think, than Ty France. And I just don't know why you would make that decision at this point.
Yeah, positional advantage as well. Davis can go in the infield. He can play two-bag. He can play in the field. He gives you that. He can hit lefties. He can hit righties. He gets a lot of walks. He can get on base. He has the power stroke as well. So I think the positional, just the advantage of Davis Schneider, to me, it just doesn't, this wouldn't be a move. But again, that's coming from a little bit of a bias because I like him. And I got two jerseys sitting right behind me. But in saying that, it's time to make our predictions before we let the people go for the weekend. So Carter, I hate to have to ask you this. What's your prediction for this series? I think we can both say it's a Blue Jays win, right?
Well, I think obviously at this point, we got to have a Blue Jays win. It's tough, obviously, because we don't know who they're playing. There's still a game 5 of the Seattle Mariners, of the Detroit Tigers. Quickland's going to go into who I think is going to win, and then who I want to win. The matchup on paper, and I think obviously in real life too, is a lot easier if you play the Detroit Tigers. Yes, you have Tyler Skubal. Again, that's going to be tough. But he's pitching Friday, so he's not going to be pitching Sunday, probably not going to be pitching Monday either. He'd be going for game 3, so that makes it a little bit easier to begin with. Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize compared to, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Brian Wu if he's back. A little bit scarier, obviously. So I'd rather have the Tigers win. I think the Mariners are going to win, but I think it doesn't really matter who you're playing. It more matters how the Blue Jays are going to play. They've controlled their own destiny this entire season. It's going to matter if they make the little mistakes, if they shoot themselves in the foot. That's really the only way I can see this team faltering at this point. But yeah, give me the Dodgers, give me the Brewers, give me the Cubs, give me whoever at this point. I'm going to take the Jays every single time. This team has been resilient. This team has shown that they will not let anything stop them. I think game 6, I don't care who it is, game 6 is going to be the day that the Toronto Blue Jays make it to back to the World Series for the first time in almost 30 years.
I like it. But
it's over 30 years.
But not
90,
quite
93, 92.
Yeah, I like it, but not quite enough. I'm going game 5.
Wow.
I'm putting my foot down. It's game 5. It's the Blue Jays. And again, when we're talking about opponents, Seattle's got a better offense as well. So really, I think in many facets of the game, the Seattle Mariners are a better baseball team. But Tyler Skubal on the mound for game 5 with them. So that could be a big deciding factor versus them. So it could be a big deciding factor for that series as well. Thank you guys so much for watching all week long. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Some of the comments we've gotten have been just amazing. Keep those coming in. We love to hear from you guys. We want to hear your perspectives. Leave us a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button. If you're listening anywhere else, we appreciate it as well. You can always message us on Twitter, Instagram, on the YouTube page, whatever you guys want to do. Honestly, find us on wherever. You can message us on Google probably at this point. Thanks so much for listening.
I got one more thing to end the episode, and I'm going to leave this with the Yankees and their off season, whether it's in Cancun, it's in Hawaii, wherever they ended up going. Maybe it is Cancun, like David Ortiz said. This is the last Yankees thing I'm probably going to say until the off season, but I wanted to throw this in. I told Brayden that I had to throw this in. He loved it. How can you not love it? Anthony Volpe, okay, guess what his strikeout rate was? I didn't tell you what this was, but this is how we got to end this episode. Guess what Anthony Volpe's strikeout rate was in the series? Minimum 15 plate appearances, and this is what the stat goes into.
I'm going to say 62%.
73.3% was his strikeout rate, and that is the worst mark ever in the divisional series.
Yeah.
How could it get any better than that? Anthony Volpe, thank you specifically so much for that series. Thank all of you guys for following along the Yankee series. But we're on to bigger and better things, whether it's the Mariners, whether it's the Tigers. We're going to be excited to lock in and dial in, maybe lock on. We got to lock on to that game on Sunday. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys again on Monday.